webinar is organized by Insight in association with H&R Johnson. And the topic itself is related to future of built space. Now, in this panel, we have tried to balance it out. There are eminent architects and designers. There are people connected with the corporates. There are people who are managing hospitals or are directing the hospitals, and there are people from the manufacturing side also. We also have confirmation that Architect Srilata will be joining. She's from the airport, Delhi International Airport. So the whole objective was to have some sort of discussion where a lot of stress is prevailing. I mean to say this COVID and Corona, last 2 months, we all are going through a difficult phase. We are getting now irritated almost, and there are a lot of talks also. A lot of talks are happening as if everything is going to change, particularly in terms of public spaces, even in the private spaces, in terms of designing. So the whole objective was that if the industry veterans, which include the designers, the architects, the executors, the technologists, if all, what is the thought process of all of us, and that we can give some perspective to your people. Here, a lot of people who are attending happen to from the design side also. A lot of students have also joined, and a lot of people from the trade community as well as from the corporates are there. Till now, more than 396 people are already with us, and we are streaming this webinar through YouTube Live. So a lot of people have logged in there for the ease of streaming. My answer, okay, so let me have this opportunity to have a formal introduction of who all are there in this panel. We have the veteran architect Shashi Prabhu, architect. Yeah, there's some issue always there in work from home, but so we have Hafiz Contractor, Padma Shri Hafiz Contractor with us, and am I audible, please?
Yes,
you are.
Yes, you are, Dinesh. Please go ahead.
Along with this, we'll be having architect Ashok Kumar from Lucknow. He is into multitude of architectural design and engineering. Srilata Ramkumar from Delhi International Delhi Airport. I talked about her. We have Mr. Barun Pal Chaudhary, Director Design and Build from Shapurji, Palanji. And we also have Mr. Arnav Ghosh, who has already joined as a National Director at Colliers International Limited, which is into creating a lot of spaces, a lot of built-up spaces for corporates also. We have Subramaniam Yadavali. Mr. Subramaniam is from management side. More than 30 years he has put in healthcare sector and has got vast experience. And as architect Shashi Prabhu or someone was mentioning that hospitals are in limelight. Yes, they are in the lifeline right now. So with this, and then to represent the manufacturing side, we have Mr. Sarat Chandak. He is CEO and ED of H&R Johnson India, which is into tiles, which is into sanitary ware, which is into engineered marble and bath fittings. H&R Johnson is a division of Prism Johnson Limited, which is an integrated building material supplier having cement as well as ready-mix concrete, RMC India. Now, this Insight, we'll talk about Insight later on in between. Insight is an effort to create a content for the design community, and it's a journal that is published by Matter Studio of Goa along with the H&R Johnson. So starting the discussion, may I, hello, am I?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Dinesh. We are able to listen to you.
Okay, so the theme and the tone that we think is that tone, we wanted to keep it quite an informal. Everybody here is an achiever. Everybody here has got a thought, and I think in last 1.5 months, not years, a lot of new things might have come into mind, and maybe as soon as this lockdown is over, Mumbai, they say now it's going to be 31st. I hope so. The collaboration will start. So meanwhile, what we think that there is a great uncertainty about COVID-19, and uncertainty is the only word perhaps which is true for this thing. Now stakeholders, if you see, there are architects, there are developers, there are contractors, there are product makers, there are users, and the government. And government is always not just for taxation on policy. It is there for a lot of other projects and a lot of other well-being for the overall this thing. The question is, will this global experience, which is I think first time it is same for every country, for every community, is it going to create something in terms of are we going to rethink for some permanent changes, or are we going to do some sort of workaround for industry, for work, for designing of towns, cities, campuses, buildings? Next question or the next topic is like, what is how the technology is going to play its role? And finally, we all are professionals, you all are professionals, but at the same time you are an individual. And as an individual, I think first time most of us might have spent so much time at home, more than 1.5 months. So as an individual, as a person, हमारा व्यू पॉइंट क्या है? लोग बहुत सारे स्ट्रेस्ड आउट हैं, बहुत सारे सवाल हैं, lot of people are anxious.
Is there, I think.
And there's a lot of depression also. So the idea was that so many veterans are here, so many senior people are there, they have seen ups and downs of life and ups and downs of business. Maybe before we complete this this discussion, a few words of wisdom will also give a lot of respite to the people. So without taking much time, my first question is to Architect Hafiz, contractor. Sir, may I go ahead, please?
Sure, please. Thank you.
So many of us at least sometimes wish to get a break from this work, but not such a long break which we got. We are not able to visit offices, not meeting people, and there are no handshakes. And now everything has been disappeared. Like it or not like it, we never wish for such a big break. Would you like to share some of your personal realization or thoughts emerged during this lockdown? Hafiz.
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much for having me on this webinar. This handshake and COVID-19, all that is, yes, that is what everybody is looking at. But I always like to go at the crux of the whole thing. And the crux of the whole thing is that we have to know what we have been doing in the past for so many years, and how we have treated nature. The biggest thing that is, why COVID-19, why, so many other things are happening in this world is, to me, climate change is the biggest environment crisis of our time. And ours is, I would say, that would be one of the last generations that is about to know that we are going to change the climate and the way we are going to live in this world. And ours is the only last generation that can do also something about how we live and what we do, and can we change our habits? Can we treat nature with more care? What we are doing about deforestation, how we are emitting fossil fuel, without any consideration. We are not even having anything on that on the picture. Now, these are the things that are very, very important. And if we do not take care of that, okay, all these COVID-19, according to me, everyone says that, oh, this has never happened. But yes, we are changing the way humanity has lived for thousands and thousands of years, and that is what is the big thing. And nobody. Once again. nobody's thinking about that. One second. I'm sorry. My wife had left the phone over here and was ringing. Sorry. Okay.
That can happen.
Okay. So I would say that this is the most important thing. And the best part is, or the worst part is, that we have come to a level whereby can we even go back is a major question. We have to see that anything what we build in the future, anything, how we travel, what we eat, what we buy, all of that, if we can reduce the global footprint, uh, then and then only it is going to help our earth. And today we cannot say that, oh, what is happening just next to me concerns me. No. Today, what is happening near Australia is going to be concerned to India. It is going to change the way the monsoons are going to be in the future. Uh, the way how they are cutting forest in Brazil is going to affect the whole world. And so and so. We have to be conscious about what everyone is doing, and everyone has to get together and come together and say that let us do something, because you can't just say that, oh, I will do it, but it's going to be of no help unless and until everybody pledges together and says, oh, I'm going to do like this. And then only it is going to happen. The world's population is bursting every 10 years. We are adding 1 billion people to our population. And one of the biggest problem is that a lot of other places in the world have already developed. Uh, we are developing. Our population is increasing. Ours is a very young population. We have to house them. Uh, okay, we have to employ them. So many things are there. So I would say that our nation is in the forefront and is in focus, because we are today 1.3 billion. Our population average age is less than, some 55% is less than some 30 years. They're all going to marry. They're all going to have kids. Again, population is going to increase. We have to house them. We have to employ them, and do it in any way and any way that we want to do it, or the way we have done, we will be in big problem. We have to reduce the global temperature by 2 degrees so that we can come to the level what the temperature was in 1975 and 80s. Then only we will be in little bit of a stability. Otherwise, we will come to such a state that we cannot go back, and God knows what else is going to be, or God knows what else is in store for us. And do we want to be that last generation who says, hell with it, we will live our life and let anything and anything happen in the future? We are not concerned. I don't think I would like to be like that. So whatever we do in the future, or whatever we do, and what, as the panelists said, that it has given us a big thought and time to think it over. I feel that, yes, I was always conscious about the environment. I was always conscious. Whenever a client told me that he would like to cut this tree or that tree, I used to fight. Sometimes even I have lost a job because I had a fight in such a way that the client never came to me because of that. So each and every tree, because the way there is one is that you restrict your use of fossil fuels. That is one thing. But and you go tremendously into the renewable energy. But what is already the carbon which is already there, uh, that nobody is saying about how to reduce that. And the only way of reducing that carbon is by having greenery, because with photosynthesis, that's the only way that you could revert that. And but that is the simplest way, but a very, very, very difficult way. And the scientist has made a calculation that even if you were to plant some 2 trillion trees on this planet, and that also not a monoculture one, a varied culture, then and then you may stabilize. Now, how the amount of land that we are going to have to plant those 2 trillion trees is a huge land. It is the size of a land of, say America, United States, and China put together. But can do it? We as architects can think about, creative ways of how we can make our cities into that. How we are not going to increase our farmland. Uh, because every few years we keep on gobbling, city into the farm and farm into the forest. In the last 60 years, our birds, mammals, wildlife has reduced by nearly 70%. A lot of times we may think that, oh, what is this? Arre, ye to gilodi hai, maar dalo, ye hai, maar dalo, ye. That is not the case. God has created each and everything, right from a big animal to a small, to a fly, to a bee. Everybody has got its own function in this world, and it helps her to keep the cycle on. If that thing goes away, there is, it's like a house, this servant, that servant, that servant. Now the guy who is cleaning and doesn't take your garbage, if he's not there for 2 days, how the garbage starts smelling. So the same way, God has given everything. We think that we are the only creature on this earth. We are supposed to be living, we are supposed to be eating, and we are the only ones who can propagate. We have been multiplying like rabbits. Okay. Now, thinking about all that, I'm thinking about that. I'm not thinking at all about social distancing and all that. That will come, that will go. Very soon we will have, medicine. We'll soon have a vaccine, and all of that is going to be hunky-dory. But are we going to change the complete earth, the way it is functioning? I think, these are larger things. Are we going to change the way, the whole climate is going to be? We have been thinking for guaranteed that, in next month, monsoon is going to come. But you have been seeing how monsoon is coming, either too much or too less. Now, with this, I would say that I leave it to other panelists. I don't know the way they are thinking, what they are thinking. Maybe I'm thinking in a wrong direction, but I feel this is the only direction. We have one earth, uh, and we have to take care of it. It has taken care of all of us for millions of years and thousands of years. Uh, do you want to be the last generation and destroy that? With this, I would say I leave it to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Architect Hafiz. Yes, it is beyond handshake, beyond mask, beyond sanitizer, and beyond vaccines. And it's time, I think it's time where we have to stop and rethink and review the way we have developed our society, our systems, our buildings, maybe. And it's time, if I can summarize, to think beyond oneself and consider the entire ecosystem when we plan our cities and our neighborhoods and all those things. Thank you so much. My next question is to आर्किटेक्ट शशि प्रभु सर. हाउ आर यू? और ये 1.5-2 महीने आपके कैसे निकले सर?
Sorry?
हाउ आर यू सर? एंड ये 1.5 महीने ये शायद
Good, I'm good.
अनथिंकेबल टाइम रहा होगा.
We people sitting in Mumbai in a lockdown condition, what do you expect us to do?
True sir, true sir.
Everybody is locked down.
Yes.
But it is for our interest.
Yeah.
Whatever government has given a call, we are following it up. I was just listening to Hafiz and what he was saying globally. Yes, we have to think of global, but
Yeah.
specifically for city of Mumbai,
Yeah,
we have many issues.
yeah,
See, we have certain slum and pockets, which is, for example, the area of Hafiz living.
hmm,
By the side of that, there is a big slum. Dharavi is a big slum.
yeah,
And then we are getting all these COVID patients from these areas, and we unnecessarily getting ourselves
हेलो
blamed
हाँ
that we should
अभी
quarantine
थोड़ा
ourselves.
तुमको पता नहीं कि हम बिजी हैं.
Sorry?
yeah. Please go on, sir.
Yeah. So we are in a similar condition, and then how long we are going to stay there? See, I'm asking my friend, who is also the chief minister,
Yeah,
that when is this lockdown is going to get away?
yeah,
So we'll be able to attain the work. The basic answer comes to me only. The
Yeah.
question to me,
hmm,
are we going to start our local trains?
hmm,
Me, Hafiz, our staff,
hmm,
they commute by train, and the
Hmm.
trains are not going to operate. I
hmm,
was told till 29th of June.
hmm,
If somebody can correct me,
hmm,
then I'll be really happy. But if this is a situation continues, then
Hmm.
it's a dream situation for city of Mumbai. As far as the rate of growth
Yeah.
of this particular pandemic, but we are not going to get correct pictures because people are giving X figure, then second day is coming X plus something, X minus something. However, it is a good amount of spread, and people are very much than the disease. There is a fright in the mind of the people, and then people are not willing to move out of the houses. That has to be taken away, so that confidence has to be given back to the people. This is what our Prime Minister has communicated in his speech.
True.
That people, without affecting anything, corona, no corona, people are scared. People don't want to really get into anybody's house.
Yeah.
Don't want to permit their maids to come in the house. So
Yeah.
this kind of fright is not really good for ourselves. This is my
Yeah.
submission. My city is concerned.
And sir, you have been connected and you have developed so many public spaces, let it be stadia, let it be hospitals, and in fact, everything. Do you think that people may look at architecture in a different way now? Or maybe do you see any very different, big, huge changes in the thought process to deal with a situation like COVID?
Let me be specific.
Ji.
At this juncture for hospitals only.
Yeah.
We are doing some 5 hospitals for the local authority here in Mumbai.
Yeah.
I cannot design a specific hospital for a specific disease.
Yeah.
The hospital is supposed to be for the different kind of diseases, and then to go admit in a hospital to get yourself cured.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. You're audible, sir.
No, my battery is going down, so I need a plug connection. Anyway, so issue is really wide. Issue is big. We have population to deal with. We have elite class, we have middle class, and we have poor class also. With all these factors, it is very difficult for Mumbai. Hello? I will charge the battery and come back again, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I got disconnected. Mr. Subramaniam, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can. I can.
So you have been connected. We were talking with architect Shashi Prabhu. What is
Yeah.
your take on this, and how are you managing? And the situation. There were talk in a lot of other European countries. Okay, maybe there is a need for public spaces to go modular, so that if the need be, these can be converted for situations like this. At the same time, there were talk like. Specifically the way OPD could behave, or the way people will behave for OPD, or there's any sort of new thoughts, new ideas for hospital management.
Yeah. First of all, Dinesh, thank you very much for having me on this panel. I think this is one of the very few occasions where I'm part of the panel where it is the rest of the people are very, very different, not from the same field, but I'm enjoying what actually I'm hearing from others, especially from Mr. Hafiz, his own, the wisdom, what he spoke to us, it's something fantastic. It's very true that these are the things which we need to understand. So having said that, as a hospitaler, for us, it is not that work from home or anything. We have to come to hospital. We are seeing, we're treating patients. So our lifestyle is slightly different, and we don't work from home, because we have to be physically available and see the place and see the people, sort of thing. I think the new normal, which is going to happen post-COVID, is something which, as all of us, need to understand that there will be some differences. We need to basically understand how we are going to take forward our life in new normal. As Mr. Hafiz said very clearly, I echo his ideas and his thought process. As a hospital, yes, there are a lot of areas where suddenly this outburst of COVID happened. People started constructing new spaces, stopgap arrangement sort of thing, which is happening. In fact, this is happening across the country, across the world. Whatever is necessary, they have organized that. Whatever required equipment they have put there. But as a hospital, if you ask me very specifically, what are those new things which definitely we need to address going forward? Is definitely the OPD is something which you mentioned just now. It's something, the crowded OPDs are something which is very cultural in our system. Like, if one patient comes, we have another 4 or 5 attendants usually come with the patient, and, we crowd the OPDs fundamentally. That is our culture. There is nothing about it. There is nothing wrong or right about it. This is how we have been living. So I think probably this is something, there is a cultural shift which we need to look at when we are coming to the new normal, because that's very important, that social distancing at OPD, if we don't plan, then, it's going to be a difficult situation. Am I audible, Mr. Dinesh?
Yes, please go on. Yeah, please go on. Absolutely.
This is something I think consciously, not only the hospitals, I think as individuals, as citizens, as public, we need to understand that it is our responsibility to make sure that these are definitely followed when we come to a hospital. We need to have a social distancing. We need to be more disciplined. We need to have, we need to understand that, we should not be crowding OPD, which is difficult and which is a dangerous thing for everyone, not only for the patient and it is for others also. It is not something very right to happen. Architecture wise, most of these hospitals which are built, I should say that which are built 10-15 years ago and which are built recently, they have different challenges. Hospitals which are old have multiple entries. They have built in those times, according to the convenience of that space available, according to whatever is required at that point of time, whatever they understood at that point of time, 10-15 years ago. The old hospitals have a bit different architecture altogether. But, if you look at newer hospital which are built, last year or before last year, they have a little bit of different patient flow. So I think these older hospitals need to, I think experts who are sitting on this panel should be able to come up with some plan where how do we have one entry, one exit for all this thing, so that we will be able to screen them. We will be able to control crowds. We will be able to maintain distancing. We will be able to do sanitizing properly. So probably, I think the experts who are sitting here should be able to design this old hospital, give their input in that, how do we maintain these things. But in going forward, I think hospitals should have something called fever clinics. If we have fever clinic, the patients who comes with fever and related problems can be shifted to the fever clinic and take them take care of them there, understand whether they're positive, they're negative, and plan the future course of action. So if you can design these elements into the system, probably it will help. And as I said, I think culturally we need to change now into this new normal. It is not just the architecture, it is not just the hospital, it is not just the public space. It is our entire thinking process need to be changed now. Entire our way we are looking at the future, the way we want to avoid these diseases, the way we want to not to get infected. I think a lot depends on us. As one of the panelists said, it's not the corona, which is going to be there or not there is a very billion-dollar question at this point of time. As we understand, yeah, it is going to be there for some time, like any other infection. Like, when swine flu came in 2008, we were all very, very worried. And now we know how to live with swine flu. When, a lot of these diseases, when they started, and now we know how we can live with those diseases and be safe. So I'm sure, over a period of time, we'll find these things in this also. But the lifestyle has to be definitely we need to understand. We need to get, if you really look at people who are getting affected are more people who are having comorbidity conditions. At this point of time, whether all of us are really getting screened ourselves, whether we are diabetic, whether we are hypertensive, whether we have any other comorbidity condition, these are the people who are getting affected. So we need to understand it's a cultural shift, not just the one part of the story. If we do that, the other part can be rectified. It's entire 360-degree. There has to be a change. We need to get prepared for these things. The new normal is what we need to understand. The way we culturally we are been there all these years, we need to address those things and change a little bit on that. Educating people, education in the people need to understand that these are the things which they need to do. One directional, unidirectional flow of patients is a must. I think they should look at in future when because I'm requesting all my architect colleagues, the panelists who are there on this panel, I'm just requesting them, in case if we are planning a hospital, we need to look at whether the proportionate number of ICU beds are there or not, whether the proportionate number of isolation beds are there or not, whether we are creating a negative pressures in that hospital or not. These are some things, which we can look at, going forward. As Dinesh, if you have asked me, how do we go forward? I think these are certain things we need to go forward. Thank you.
Good. Who else coming next?
Yeah, Dinesh, are you audible?
Yeah. I lost your voice. No, I'm audible. Yeah, I'm there. Moving on further, that was a very good insight, and I think what Architect Hafiz started, like, this is the time when we have to stop and review a lot of things. It's not just about masks, it's not just about handshakes, and it's about the entire thing review. And as you said, that we have to bring hygiene as a part of lifestyle. A lifestyle is no more related only to aesthetics, and we have Mr. Sarath Chandak representing us from product maker side, and the brand says not just tiles, lifestyles. I would like to know from him that as a manufacturer of tiles, sanitary ware, and bath fittings and engineered marble, you with the architects and developers and institutional buyers, including the government. Now, how do you as a product maker are in position, or you are thinking post-COVID business environment regarding the products expectation by the architects or by the users themselves? To Sarath.
Hello.
I think you have to, yeah. Now you are audible.
Yeah, thank you, Dinesh. Good evening to all the eminent panelists and to all the participants who are listening to this webinar. I feel if you have referred this question with COVID, so obviously this is kind of unprecedented event every business and every individual across the world is going through. So without elaborating much, it's a kind of a once in century again comeback event, and taking a cue from Architect Hafiz, that this is all the kind of the way we treated Earth, the same kind of problems are coming to us. So obviously, to immediate basis, we have all been practicing what has been advised by government of various wherever we are located. At the same time, I personally feel that this is going to be remaining with us as for a long time as a companion and as a friend, and we need to provide the companion what it requires. It could be a social distancing for another 6, 8, 9 quarters, or till the time the vaccine comes. It could be all the safety measures and all hygiene take. So as a manufacturer, we have been recognizing this for last almost last 6 decades plus, and we have been innovating for products around. And we just don't call lifestyles as just aesthetics. We relate it to health, we relate it to hygiene, we relate it to safety, and on the top of it, we definitely relate it to concern for environment. And this is all blended with the aesthetics. So if you look at the material changes in ceramic for over the period, and that leads to many questions might come to your mind, that how the concern for environment has been. So like we have developed a ceramic membrane. So instead of getting into a polymer membrane, the ceramic membrane actually takes into a lot of other kind of applications. It can get into STP, it can get into a gray water treatment in a much effective way and a much better way. So same way as a lifestyle brand, we feel very much concerned about environment, as Hafiz said and elaborated, and even Mr. Subramaniam said that going to be a game forward, it is likely to be changed. We feel increasing awareness is going to be too much across, like swine flu, increased awareness in a lot of the Southeast countries where people still wear masks, and that is there for long. And similarly, 9/11 actually put us through all the screening process happened, and that still now we are living with it, whether be it airport, be it any 5-star hotel or any hotel lobbies or public places, we get screened. So I think this COVID-19 is also certainly going to change something, and post-vaccine might be some element would remain and some may not. But as an individual and as a company, we are trying to address those things. We a long time back as an innovation platform, and we innovated with a germ and antimicrobial compound, which we supply to almost every antimicrobial applications in building material site, including Asian Paints, Jaguar, Hindware, and into tiles. that effectively treats all kind of microbes onto the surface and kills up to 99.99% of all those. This is silver nano-based compound, which is patented in India. We truly feel and committed to the globe as well as to more to the Indian citizens and India as a country. So we feel that more of innovations and challenging time like this COVID has thrown into gears a lot of innovations, ideas to come onto the place to help as a brand, help the citizens, the choices we make, help the citizens and the fraternity, the choices we're likely to make, and try to get into a co-creation, co-collaborative way of understanding, because we feel the eminent panelists and all other architects across India who would be the first point of contact to understand the difficulties, the problem areas, like Mr. Subramaniam explained for the hospital. Same way, there could be various other problem areas which, as a lifestyle brand, as a building construction brand, we would like to take those challenges and try to co-create all those things surrounding in a bigger way to address those concerns, and at the same time remain environmentally conscious about it. So while coming back to on the development side, which relates to going forward the future, like we talked about membrane, similarly we talk about temperature reduction tiles. We are getting into radiation shielding tile for particularly hospitals, which we are working with AMPRI Bhopal. And so all these are going to take away, like lead is one of the toxic material which is being used in any of the radiations in hospital spaces, which we wish to take away those things, toxic element, to build all those surroundings. So ceramic has got a lot of vast applications to provide to the citizens and try to solve various problems. So we honestly look forward for all kind of eminent personalities like you all who have got vast experience and having a great amount of perspective towards all the problems to be solved, where we can co-create and resolve the issues and remain aesthetically committed and become one of the we live with our brand, what we call as lifestyle is all about. So I really would like to look forward for all the going forward challenges which you see or you are likely to see to coming us to as a solution provider, and we should be co-creating and collaborating with you all to solve this. So it's a challenge, and I feel that this is the challenge is to in a challenging time only the innovations kicks off very well, and that's what history has always been. So I leave it my comment at this juncture and go forward, maybe interacting further onto this line. Thank you, Dinesh.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Sharad. Am I audible, please?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. There is a question from audience, and this is for Architect Hafiz, contractor. We have been talking about the only solution for metros is going vertical. Now, in the present thought, at the same time, I said Architect Hafiz has already addressed this thing about the ecosystem. So going vertical has its own challenges, and the way cities are getting densified. What happens to going vertical thing, which requires more density at a place? And also the related question from audience is, what happens to the central air conditioning? These are two aspects. If Architect Hafiz would like to take this question, please.
See, in India, we are, since so many years, we feel that going vertical is not good. Like there was quite some time back, there was a theory in India also that, oh, making money is not good, you're not doing well, or you're not doing the right thing. Making money in the right way is a good thing. Going vertical for the right cause is a good thing, because we have to understand that we have so much of land. Land is required to grow food. Okay, land is required to have forest. We think that forests are of no value. Forests are only there for the wild, animals. No, forest has a great ecosystem. We have been gobbling forest after forest. all the small cities of India, we are just having low-rise, semi-detached houses. Uh, that is a waste of money. We are wasting our resources. For a ground and one upper house, we make a foundation, we make a, a slab, then we start making boundary walls, we start doing roads, we start laying services. Okay, that is not the right thing to do. By going vertical, okay, you are able to house more people. When you go vertical, you are housing more people at the same area. The rest of the area, you are leaving it for other things to be done. Maybe, if you are, like say what we did for DLF Phase 5, we forested the whole other area and we went vertical. We are accommodating more people. But in India, going vertical, considering our population, considering our food securities, okay, it is the only way we will be able to solve our problem. And India, we are not going vertical just to show off, like in Dubai and other places where they go vertical to show off. They don't need that kind of a density. Uh, in India, we are one of the few countries where we go vertical, and those are residential buildings. Those are not office buildings. Everywhere in the world, barring Korea, you will see that most of the high-rise buildings are office buildings. So we are housing people. And that is the reason why I have been saying that going vertical is the only solution. Up to now, we are not having our FAR ratios in comparison to our population. Why we are having so much of slums in all our cities? Because first of all, our FAR ratios are not proportionate to the population, and secondly, our prices are not in proportion to our earning capacity. Because all along, since so many years, since the time of independence, we have been curbing FAR because our society was more towards the farm, in the villages. Now all those people are coming to the cities, and we cannot, we have to house them. We just can't say that they will live in the slums, they will live on the streets. No, that is not the way. We have to think about how we are going to house them, and we just cannot think of expanding our cities, every city. Look at Ahmedabad. What was there? It has expanded. We have gobbled all the farmland. Look at what is happening in Noida. It is all gobbled farmland. What is happening in every city? We are just gobbling farmland, and we do not have the guts that when we are doing a new city outside the main city, we do not give proper FAR. We should give, because we should give them more FAR. We should give them 8 FAR, 9 FAR, because we are going to do completely new services. We are going to make new roads, and you can make those new roads with that kind of a density. And what mistake we do, we make a new city, give it less FAR, and then the old city, which is not designed for the roads and services for a higher FAR, we increase that FAR, and we make a mess of the old city, and we do not have the guts to have the new city with a higher FAR and plan from the beginning in the right way. We need to change our laws. We need to change the way we are looking at how we are going to design our future cities, because India's future is in how it is going to design its cities. That is going to be your future. And if you do not design your cities in the right manner and with a formula which is for India, not the European formula. The European formula doesn't work for us. That is what is to be done. So high rise is your only solution and your saving grace. Engrave it on your head. Engrave it on your head. And when you asked me that question also, you had a smile on your face, because I'm sure you also do not like high rise. But I love high rise, because that is the way we are going to house our population, and we need to house them. We cannot be like a father who says, "Oh, the baby is going to come, the mother is going to take care of it, the baby will sleep on the cot with the mother." No, that is not the way you have to think. You have to plan for your population. They are your brothers and sisters. They are not somebody who is coming from somewhere and go to somewhere. I don't think like that. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
think it could have been a very very knee-jerk reaction in view of COVID suddenly, that such a fundamental thing was debated. I mean, say, but as you rightly said, for the overall development, there are certain things which are very very fundamental, and the solution could come from different things. Solution could come from lifestyle. Solution could come from our hygiene habits. Solution could come from our health services. Thank you very much, sir. Now we have three very eminent people with us here, and with in very very diverse fields. We have Mr. Barun Pal Chaudhary. We have Mr. Architect Ashok Kumar, and so I would like to start with first with the Mr. Varun Pal Chaudhary. Now, this is about execution, and there are a lot of questions about from audience also. Construction in India is very very labor intensive, and good in a way that it employs millions of people coming from across the city. We are looking at the current situation also, where a lot of things are being talked about migrant laborers. We also see disruptions due to labor issues also. To what extent do you think automation and particularly the technology will be employed as a response to present situation? Today it's COVID, tomorrow it could be something else. So what do you think as far as the technology is concerned in post-COVID era? Mr. Barun Palcho.
Thank you, Dinesh. And I must say, before I start, I must say Hafiz sir has said a brilliant thing. Climate change is our biggest crisis. So whatever crisis we are seeing is actually an outcome of the climate change. That's a very well thought process which is leading to all this. So we might have to prepare ourselves for larger problems than what we are seeing today. And Subramaniam Saab said it's a cultural shift. Yes, it is a cultural shift. Now coming to thought process, the construction carries around 5% of GDP, but unfortunately, in a country like India, construction is the most unorganized sector. So every I think problem that comes also gives us an opportunity to rethink, and it gives us an opportunity to improve. So from the construction fraternity, I'll say this has given us a tremendous space to really rethink. And it also has given our fraternity as a construction, which is architects, engineers, MEP engineers, our own clients, and the manufacturer all together to become more organized. Like, first of all, I would like to say that in construction, two things has been happening. One, today we have nearly 140 sites, and in all those sites, I have from 300 labor to 1,500 laborers there whom we are to take care, because as you said, the migrant labor coming, and it is a labor intensive job. And what is likely the solutions we should see for future? Because it's not COVID, it's something more that can happen. So what I'm seeing is, number one, likely in near future, some will be very near future if I divide, and some will be little long-term impact. In near future, if I see directly into construction, I'll see that off-site construction is going to be the solution provider. Because if I have to manage a social distancing, if I have to manage a lot of other SOPs that are going to come with this crisis, so off-site construction is one of the solutions that will make us less labor dependent on the site. So the moment we do this too, so migrant labor's requirement to move to the site will reduce drastically. Another thing which is getting, I think, going to get popular in the coming year in the short term is plug and play mechanism. A lot of things are available for plug and play, which we do not do. There will be, like, to take example, a lot of toilet pods are available. Just imagine when we make an hospital, or we make a hotel, or we make a residential apartment, every apartment has 5 toilets. So an 1,000 apartment building will have 5,000 toilets. Just imagine how much labor is required to do that. If I get into a toilet pod which are plug and play, and 5,000 toilet pods are come and it is fixed on the site, I am actually doing everything offsite. I am having the liberty to have a social distancing. I'm reducing the labor on site, and we are also, making the quality better, because offsite construction, the qualities are much better into mechanization. So mechanization, I'm saying automation will be something which will take place, plug and play, offsite construction. And one more thing which is going to happen in the short term is the green materials, green building, because obviously people will be more concerned about our Mother Earth. People will be more concerned what we are giving back to the earth. We will be more, as a construction company, as engineers and architects, we will be more conscious to the society, more conscious to the earth. So green buildings and green materials are things which are going to pick up. Now, coming back to likely changes in near future, there will be some more things which are going to happen. These are, in contracting terms, I believe tighter project lines are the need of the hour, because we really need to move faster. So tighter project lines is one thing. There is bound to happen, which is, we have understood there can be a labor crisis. So I can see a lot of labor laws getting revisions and changes. And thrust on local manpower may be one of the things which can also happen. Clients will be, getting into need-based projects, which I'm seeing. So that's going to be very important. Need-based project, aligning ourselves on the project which are needed and futuristic. And innovations are going to take place, gain momentum, because we have seen that innovations in construction and design take a backseat, and it takes a lot of time to come to the forefront. Whenever we talk of PEB structures, we talk of any other technology in construction, it takes a lot of time. So what I'm seeing is that is going to come to the forefront, and this is going to change the way how we are going to design, we are going to execute, and we are going to deliver the project. So somebody said in the panel, which I am totally agreeable, the projects will become MEP intensive projects, because if whether they are hospitals or they are healthcares, I think MEP intensive projects are the way it is going to happen. And I'm also seeing there will be a bylaw change, which I'm seeing it might happen. Bylaws change in terms of compliances to the kind of scale, like for construction of an airport or a stadium. I think there will be bylaws change, because if I know 50,000 people are sitting in this, what are the number of toilets? What are the number of toilets for social distancing? Because not crowding, no more possible in those washrooms in a stadium. So maybe I am foreseeing there will be a lot of changes in those kind of areas, changes in railway stations, airports, norms, which will have a long-term implications, but they will be all for the betterment. So we should not get scared of that changes are going to happen, because changes has always been happening, and changes are bound to happen. I will end with saying that change is the only constant and so built spaces change. There is no exception, and we accept it, and it is going to be for the betterment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burman. We have with us Architect Ashok Kumar and Mr. Arnab Ghosh. Mr. Arnab Ghosh, before I come to Architect Ashok Kumar, who's doing diverse projects sitting at Lucknow and doing so many government projects. You name a project, you name a category, and he's there. Would like to understand his perception of, going forward, even for the government projects, which is very, very passionately associated with. But Mr. Arnab Ghosh, so far, there is one Arnab who always our nation wants to know, and today I have got opportunity to ask Arnab, nation wants to know. You have been associated with millions of square feet of corporate office creation, and this novel corona made us office, office comers sit at home, and you are reading something. Are you reading something more than the temporary arrangement, work from home? I'm beyond mask and beyond sanitizer going forward. And do you think that corporates have in mind, as far as what is their mindset? You might be interacting with them as office spaces, as far as office space is concerned. And my another question to you, the follow-up question would be, what according to you could be the top 3 shifts that may happen in terms of design and operations of built spaces for corporates? And then architect Ashok Kumar. Mr. Arnab Ghosh.
Thank you, Dinesh. Thank you for inviting me in this panel. I think for the last 1.5 months, we have all been going through this situation. It's not a great situation to be in. Fortunately, Bangalore, where we stay, is in a better position. We have been able to start a few of our projects last week in a very limited manner, but it has started. So when I see the situation in Bombay, in Delhi, in Chennai, in Hyderabad, we feel fortunate. As far as our clients goes, all of them are actually still grappling with the situation. Some of them have taken this time to create SOPs for the employees and staff when they come back. All kind of scenarios they are evaluating and assessing. The work from home culture has, become a big hit with the IT companies especially. And since they have already been trying this out in their own companies. But it is important that we acknowledge that work from home in India has its own challenges. The way we stay, the infrastructure, everything has its own challenges. And I myself already is, getting feedback from my colleagues and friends that they're not really very happy with the way the companies are expecting them to work now. But people are doing it because as on date, there is no other option. So people are, living with it, but I don't know how long they will be able to sustain this work from home culture. As far as the preparedness when the office restart, all the companies are asking, they're all taking precautions. They're making their workspace more safe. All the necessary social distancing, all the required things are being done. The 50% or 30% of the workforce is only told to come and work, whereas the balance are still told to work from home. They're thinking about juggling the workforces. All that thing is being done. So, but the point is, the fact remains that whatever these companies do, the risk of infection is not eliminated 100% when work starts. So that's the point. So we have to live with this virus. We have to accept that it is there, and we have to you do whatever required to do. But we should come out of this, this state of fear that has creeped into all of us. Unless we come out of that, I think will not become normal. Whether it's the new or the old, to work normally, we cannot work with fear in back of our mind. As far as the workplace design change, I could see that if you categorize that physically, there will be, spatially, people will be looking at wider corridor, wider doors, avoid minimal bottlenecks so that where people don't crowd. There will be more staircases maybe in our commercial building compared to what it was, connecting floors, because staircases are supposed to be a better option than elevators today. The choice of material will be defined by the time a virus can be active on a material, and how fast a material can be sanitized. Carpet, I think the usage of carpet in office might reduce, is what I anticipate. Technologically, we will have more visual analytics of people coming in to detect crowd, even to detect temperature, body temperature, to detect movement, to schedule how people will be coming in and going out from their offices. Voice recognition, facial recognition, Bluetooth access controls, all this will be coming in. Any technology which reduce touch points will be adapted faster in all our offices. Sensor-based technology will be ruling as we move forward. As far as the social changes, I think cafeteria, which was one of the most important space in any office, we really need to see how the architects or the designer will be designing the new age cafeteria now, keeping in mind that they need to maintain social distancing and also keeping in mind that it's an important space where people interact, collaborate, and all that thing. Meeting rooms will reduce. People will have spaces where they can have virtual meetings. There will be more display screens where you can do video calls. Town hall and all stuff, meeting spaces also, I think will slowly die a slow death. The strange thing is, if you look at workplace design over the years, people have evolved, and we were celebrating the open, flexible office just a few months ago. Collaboration was, seen as a key to productivity and inclusivity in any organization. And the entire workplace design was being done around those concepts. Now, suddenly, because of this, people wants to go back to those, cubicles of the 60s or 70s and build physical barriers, the screens, whatnot. My only thing is that we should not, I hope the designers don't just, get into a knee-jerk reaction to the situation. We cannot really build walls around us and feel safe all the time. We have come a long way, so we should think about it, and we should try to find the right balance between practicality and humanity. Right? We are all humans. We go to work. We spend a lot of time in our offices. We also need to work without fear and in a happy state of mind. And as Mr. Contractor said very rightly in the beginning, this is a God-given opportunity for us to reflect and introspect how we have developed over the years, the way we have built our cities, the way we have, ran, we have gone with the flow. We are just running against the time all the time before this happened. And it is important that we don't squander away this opportunity again. We really need to look at how to reduce the effect that we're having on our environment, because this pandemic has shown us that what can happen if we are not working. Correct? If our factories are not working, if our cars and buses are not moving around, the offices are not working, the entire thing changes. So it is possible. It is obvious that we have to work, but we should know, or when we need, I would say, responsible leadership in all front. It's not only in government, it's in the industry, it's in any decision maker. I think the key phrase is responsible leadership, because the leaders are the who will decide the future of our nation or the cities or the world. So I just hope some new leaders emerge out of this new normal also.
Very well said. Very well said, sir. Thank you so much.